Stop right now, before you take another breath, before you scroll another inch, before your mind tells you this is just another message. I need you to understand something that heaven itself has been waiting to say to you. A miracle is already moving in your direction, not toward someone else, not toward the person sitting next to you, not toward the ones who seem to have it all together, toward you, straight toward you, with force, with intention, with the full weight of heaven behind it. You have been carrying a financial burden that has been stealing your sleep, suffocating your peace, and whispering lies into your spirit in the darkest hours of the night. You have looked at your account. You have looked not when things calm down or when the timing feels more convenient. Right now, this very moment is the moment God has chosen to break into your financial impossibility with the full force of His power. I want you to understand something deeply. When God interrupts, He does not knock gently. He does not whisper from a distance and hope you eventually notice. When the God of all creation decides to move into a situation, everything shifts. The atmosphere changes. What was impossible yesterday becomes inevitable today. What the enemy spent years building against you gets torn down in a single divine moment. And what makes this so extraordinary is that God did not ask your bank account for permission. He did not consult your credit score. He did not look at your past failures, your broken promises, or the times you almost gave up and decide whether you were worthy enough. He simply moved, because that is who He is. You have been living inside a financial story that has felt completely locked. Like every door you push against is sealed shut. Like every time you get close to breathing again, something else comes and pulls you back under. And you have started to wonder quietly in those honest moments you share with nobody, whether this is just how your life is supposed to be, whether struggle is your portion, whether other people receive miracles while you simply receive more bills, more pressure, more weight on shoulders that are already exhausted from carrying too much for too long. But I need you to hear this with everything inside of you. That locked story is being broken open right now, not by your strategy, not by your networking or your planning or your next attempt to figure it out. It is being broken open by a divine interruption that has been scheduled in heaven long before you ever saw this message today. God has been watching your situation with full knowledge of every detail. He knows the exact number. He knows the exact name. He knows the exact date that the pressure arrived. And He knows precisely what it has cost you in peace, in confidence, and in hope. And He has decided today is the day He steps in. This is what people misunderstand about God's timing. They think silence means absence. They think that because they have not seen a visible change, nothing is actually happening. But that is not how heaven operates. The moment you planted your last act of faith, the moment you chose to trust, when trust was the hardest thing in the world, something was already being released on your behalf in the unseen realm. Angels were dispatched, doors were being unlocked, resources that had been held in reserve were beginning to move toward you with a purpose and a direction that nothing in the natural world can stop or redirect. God does not interrupt halfway. When He breaks into a financial situation, He does not leave it partially solved or temporarily relieved. He completely overturns it. He takes what the enemy designed as your permanent condition and transforms it into your greatest testimony. The very thing that has humiliated you, the very number that has haunted you, the very burden that has defined this painful season of your life, God is walking straight into the middle of it right now with power that has no limit and love that has no condition. There is something you did that you have probably already forgotten about, a moment that passed so quietly, so without fanfare, that you barely registered it as significant. Maybe you gave when you had almost nothing left to give. Maybe you prayed for someone else I need you to understand something that will change the way you see everything that is coming toward you right now. Heaven noticed, God saw it, and that one act, that single seed planted in the soil of obedience, has already triggered a response from heaven that your natural eyes have not yet caught up with. This is the part that most people never fully grasp about how God works. They think that big breakthroughs require big, dramatic, visible acts of faith. They think that God only responds to the loud, the public, the impressive displays of devotion that everybody can see and applaud. But that is not what Scripture shows us. And that is not what I have seen God do in the lives of real people, carrying real burdens in a real and painful world. God is deeply, profoundly, consistently moved by the quiet things, the things done in private, the sacrifices made when nobody is watching and nobody is clapping, and there is absolutely nothing in the natural to suggest that what you are doing is making any difference at all. And that is exactly where you have been. You have been in that private place, doing the right thing in the dark, honoring God in the hidden moments, sowing seeds of faith into ground that looked completely dry, completely dead, completely incapable of producing anything worth waiting for. And every single time you did that, every single time you chose obedience over convenience and faith over fear, a seed was going into the ground, not into the dirt of this earth, but into the supernatural soil of God's kingdom, where nothing that is planted in faith ever stays buried forever. You need to understand the nature of a seed, because it will help you understand exactly what is happening in your life right now. A seed does not produce fruit the moment it enters the ground. There is a period, a necessary, unavoidable, often deeply frustrating period, where nothing visible is happening, where the ground looks exactly the same as it did before you planted anything, where a person with no understanding of how seeds work would look at that soil and say, nothing is there, nothing is coming, you wasted your time. But underneath, where no human eye can see, something extraordinary is already in motion. The shell is breaking, the root is forming, the shoot is pushing upward, with a determination that no amount of hard ground can permanently stop. That is what has been happening in your financial life during this painful season. While you were looking at the surface and seeing nothing, God was working underneath. That seed of obedience you planted, that quiet act of faith you made, when it cost you something real, has been breaking open under the ground of your circumstances. The root of your breakthrough has already formed. The shoot around you did not see it. While it may be true that no human eye was present to witness your sacrifice, there is an eye that never closes, never blinks, never looks away, and never misses a single moment of what you have been doing in secret. God sees the hidden. He has always seen the hidden. And not only does he see it, he keeps a record of it with a faithfulness and a precision that should make every fearful thought in your mind go completely silent right now. Think about the moments that only you and God know about. The morning you woke up with almost nothing in your account and still chose to give. The night you got on your knees and prayed through tears for a financial situation that looked completely hopeless and still found a way to say, Lord, I trust you, even when the words felt heavy coming out of your mouth. The day you were offered a shortcut, a compromise, a way to get ahead that would have required you to dishonor God, and you walked away from it even though walking away felt like it was costing you everything. Those moments, those specific, personal, deeply private moments that never made it onto anyone's timeline and never received a single word of encouragement from another human being. Those are the moments that heaven has been cataloging with extraordinary care. God does not operate on the same economy that this world operates on. The world rewards visibility. The world applauds what it can see, measure, and put on display for others to admire. But God's economy runs on something entirely different. It runs on faithfulness in the hidden place. It runs on integrity when no one is watching. It runs on the kind of obedience that costs you something real and produces nothing visible in the immediate moment. And the reward that comes out of that economy is not a small, quiet, barely noticeable reward. It is a public, undeniable, impossible to explain away reward that carries the full signature of heaven on it. This is what the scripture means when it says that God sees in secret and rewards openly. That word openly is not decorative language. It is not poetic filler. It is a direct promise from the mouth of God about the nature of how he responds to hidden faithfulness. What you have done in private is about to produce something so visible, so tangible, so financially real and life-changing, that the people who only saw your struggle will be completely unable to deny that something supernatural has happened in your life. The ones who watched you go through it, who maybe even doubted whether your faith was doing anything at all, are about to watch God make your private obedience into a very public demonstration of his power and his faithfulness. And here is what makes this even more personal and even more powerful. God is not responding to a performance. He is not rewarding the version of you that had everything together and never doubted and never struggled and never sat in the dark, wondering if any of this was real. He is responding to the real you, the tired you, the confused you, the you that kept going with trembling hands and a heart full of questions and a bank account that made trust feel almost irrational. That version of you, the honest, broken, still believing version of you, is exactly the version that moved heaven, because that is where real faith lives. Not in the easy seasons, but in the hard ones. Not when everything makes sense, but when nothing does. And God saw every moment of it and has been holding the reward with your name written on it, waiting for exactly this appointed time to release it into your life, openly, abundantly, and completely. Most people are waiting for their miracle to start. They are praying for God to begin something, asking Him to finally set things in motion, begging heaven to please, at some point, do something about the financial mountain that has been sitting in the middle of their life, blocking everything that should be flowing toward them. And I understand that posture, because when you are in the middle of a painful season, when the pressure is real and the numbers are real and the fear that wakes you up at 3 a.m. is very real, it genuinely feels like nothing is happening. It feels like heaven is still and silent and somehow unmoved by everything you have been carrying. But I need to tell you something today that is going to completely shift the way you are praying and the way you are waiting and the way you are looking at your situation. Your miracle is not waiting.